So today we're back for day two. We're starting off with Randy Boissonnault, who's the Minister of Tourism. Nice to see you, Randy.
Hi, my friend. How are you?
I'm really good. And Associate Minister of Finance for the Government of Canada. So Randy, we could spend the whole time with me just pumping your tires about the work you're doing.
Let's get to business.
Okay, perfect. So this, of course, is the North America's largest hydrogen show.
Yep.
It's also happening right in the middle of Tourism Week. So last night there was a big tourism event. As the Minister for Tourism, can you just talk about what's happening in the region and maybe a little bit on Canada about just coming here and what's happening in this country?
Sure. Well, let me go one step more granular. The edge of this convention center is the dividing line of my riding. So the fact that we've got 8,000 visitors to Edmonton Center and all that our amazing city has to offer is remarkable. Look, the whole point of having $158 million in this budget for tourism, $108 million of that is going to go to regional development agencies to get out to our tourism operators, but there's $50 million in there for a bid fund. So what does that mean? That means Destination Canada is going to be able to go and compete on the international stage now for business events, for sporting events, for new events that have never thought to set up shop here in Canada, in Edmonton and Alberta, across the country. And so we're going to be able to now compete with the Americans, the Aussies, the New Zealanders, the Scots and the Brits. Yep. And we're going to go get more than our fair share of those international properties setting up in our communities for multiple years at a time. And so this conference happening in the middle of National Tourism Week and Alberta Tourism Week is a great example to show how business conferences expose a city that people might not otherwise come to, despite the fact that Forbes has said, check out Edmonton in 23. Thank you, Forbes. But then people are going to come here and they're going to go, I got to come back. And I got to come back with my family. And look, the visitor economy is booked on our books as a country as an export.
Yes.
After this sector, after the energy sector in Alberta, the number one export sector for Alberta is the visitor economy. And as a country, tourism is our number one service export. $105 billion in revenue in 2019. And this year we'll get back to those kind of levels across the whole country.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And we talk a lot about people will invest in places that they want to visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they come here, they enjoy themselves, want to come back, can imagine having either themselves or their teams living and working in. So that tourism sector really is just about saying it's a great quality of life, there's amazing things happening, and you can have a rich and vibrant life here. So it's business and tourism are absolutely interconnected.
We didn't plan this, but I'm actually wearing my Explore Edmonton socks.
I noticed
whether
those.
It's the River Valley,
I don't know if we've got the camera that can zoom in on Randy's socks.
There we go, Explore Edmonton socks. It's true. So I'm a partisan. Yesterday I had my Canada socks on. Today it's Explore Edmonton. But look, whether it's Indigenous Peoples Experience, Fort Edmonton Park, whether it's our fabulous Winspear Centre or the Royal Alberta Museum, or the nightlife. I mean, people who were at the street party last night heard the kind of diversity that's here, right? And as we, really show the world what Edmonton and Alberta can do, it's phenomenal for me as Tourism Minister for Canada to just direct more people back to my hometown and my home province.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk hydrogen. So yesterday, Linde announced that they're going to be part of Dow's project. So Dow's building the world's largest net zero ethylene polyethylene facility here. $10 billion project. Once that hits FID, Linde is going to be the exclusive provider of hydrogen for that. Plus, they're going to do transportation fuels. We've got Air Products right now building the world's largest net zero hydrogen facility. Linde's project sounds like it'll be similar scale, maybe even bigger. Heidelberg just announced the world's largest net zero cement plant. Capital Power is doing a $3 billion upgrade to do carbon capture off their power generation, as well as shift to hydrogen. Shell's got almost $1 billion in projects. When we start to add these up, we've got either under construction or on the books about to start about $18 billion in capital projects in net zero and hydrogen. This is the centerpiece really for Canada, shifting to clean energy. Again, your government has played a huge role in this, funding hydrogen. You're an investor into the Air Products project with grants, lots of money for sequestration. Can you talk about just how serious the government of Canada is taking this?
Sure, I love the list that you mentioned because now I don't have to. But no, look, and I mean, some of those numbers may actually be higher, right? So we're looking at, like just Dow alone is 30 million person hours of work. Think about that. And to use the investment tax credits, there has to be union provisions there, prevailing wages, union workers on site, apprentices on site. So it's a good news story for everyone. But just to give people a sense, like this is larger than the last upgrader built in the oil sands. Like, so we're talking at a scale that we can actually legitimately claim the word powerhouse when it comes to hydrogen. So Edmonton is coming up hydrogen because of the investment, because of the feedstock we have, but because of the technical ingenuity, right? And we've got companies that have said, look, the feedstock's here, the tax credits are here, the people are here, the know-how is here, and none of this would happen without the amazing workers here in Alberta and leadership at the municipal level, like the Alberta Heartland region. And Mark Plamondon, their executive director, had a really good article in the news recently about the tens of billions of dollars that are going there. So the tax credits are pretty straightforward. CCUS, if you're gonna sequester or store carbon, there's a tax credit there for you. In the hydrogen space, it's a tax credit that goes from 15% to 40% based on the intensity of the emissions. So anything more than 4 kilograms, no dice. But anything less than that, you're going to be able to have access to some credit, and the highest credit is for hydrogen that is 0.75 kilogram or less. And so there's a lot of scope here for a lot of companies to play ball in Edmonton and in Alberta.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the point you made about, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the geology, we've got the natural gas resources, the feedstock. What we don't often talk about is that people side. So we've got some of the world's leading universities and colleges here. We've got IP that's being generated here. That the innovations that happen in this place can then also become exports. So we can help the rest of the world decarbonize through what we're learning to do here.
So I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
Last year, 5,000 people at this convention. This year, 8,000 people at the convention. 100 different companies on the exhibition floor here. And people literally rewiring how airline routes are going to come to our province and our region, and countries actually taking a very different look at who we are. And so what I love is that it's finally bringing all of those things together that Northern Alberta represents and that Alberta represents in terms of know-how about geology and engineering, but it's adding that other piece, which is some of these things wouldn't happen without governments contributing, and Air Products is an example. Like, we have countries around the world that really want to have all the companies in the world in their backyard, and we're saying actually we can compete. And so the 300 million from us for Air Products and the province came to the table too is going to be, I think, a cascading investment, right? We've already seen other companies take the feedstock or take the offtake from Air Products to set up shop to do renewable diesel, and those kind of building blocks that we're putting in place make a big difference. But it doesn't stop there. It's clean technology credits, it's green technology credits, investment credits, and given how tight some of the capital markets are going to be over the next little while, we've actually now will fully capitalize the Canada Growth Fund. So what is that? 15 billion from us as a government to crowd in 3 times that, so another 45 billion for a $60 billion fund managed outside of government by smart investment people to literally green the economy. And I said it in my remarks today, but over the next 27 years, there's going to be $100 trillion US of private sector investment put into economies to green them, and I want Edmonton and Alberta and Canada to go get its fair share and then some.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. There's so much opportunity, and when you get almost giddy talking about it. We had Eric Guter from Air Products here yesterday, and they've got $15 billion in capital that they want to deploy around the world. They've already deployed 1.6 billion of it here. They're hoping to do 2 or 3 more projects of that scale. And it's where I'm going with this is that Canada sometimes gets criticized for being slow to act. Right? We say these things and then we're slow to move. Things are moving unbelievably quickly right now. So can you maybe just speak a little bit to the speed of change that the government's helping drive?
So I come to politics for the same thing that I was in business for, which is for results. Yeah. And I don't like endless process. And so we took a lot of heat in the first mandate to change the way that environmental assessments were done and projects get approved. But now the fact that we're stacking environmental assessments at the same time with provinces, that we've found the right pathway through some bumpy roads with TMX to get Indigenous consultation done properly. I'll give you an example. and I mentioned this morning. So the critical minerals that we have in this country, we're focusing on 31 of them, $4 billion. And Marathon Palladium Mine, from the time they applied to the time it passed cabinet was 2 years. Not 6, not 8, not 10, 2 years. And so we're seeing this. We have to move faster. We have to move at the speed of business. No government's ever going to move quite that fast, but it shouldn't take 10 years for a project to be approved. And if it does, capital is going to move elsewhere. Yeah. And as Associate Minister of Finance, I have been at international meetings. Like I remember APEC Finance in Thailand. And we spent 2 of our 8 hours of meetings talking about green finance, talking about how do we have green bonds, sustainable finance, but also how do we rewire the insurance markets of the world for all of the climate change disasters that are coming that current insurance pools can't handle. So what we're really talking about here is fueling and powering the world, but doing so in a way that we can actually stay and live on the planet and that our grandkids can do the same.
Yeah, again, just love all the things that you're doing. Okay, so we've got only a couple minutes left.
Sure.
We've been... and again,
you and I could do this all day.
We could do this all day. So there's so many things happening here. People from all over the world.
Yep.
Is there anything in particular that you're looking for, or people that you're saying this is a company to watch, or there's a country that's doing something really well that we could learn from?
Well, I think we can learn from Japanese in terms of how they have created the distribution networks. And I mean, look, the hydrogen vehicles are de rigueur there. And I also think that there are countries in the world that we can do some important infrastructure builds with. And look, if you take a look at the amount of money that we're going to have to invest in our own economy to green it, it's not going to come from Canadian sources. Like it's $125 billion a year for each of the next years to 2050, and we don't have that much money as a government. No. So industry's got to come to the table. We've got to have partnerships with other countries. And so whether it's Germany, Japan, South Korea, I mean, when Joe Biden was in the House of Commons, he made it very clear that he's put money into the U.S. military to come and work with Canadian companies to extract critical minerals. And as I said to Joe Manchin, that's great, but not without the refining taking place right here in our own backyard, because we're not ripping and shipping this time. We're going to have those good Canadian jobs right here at home.
Okay, love it. Okay, so... again, I said at the beginning, I'm going to pump your tires a little bit. And I didn't actually do that because you said, let's get right into the numbers. So I just want to say that, and I think people that have been paying attention to what's going on in the economy of the Edmonton metropolitan region know just what a massive leader you've been, how much work you've done to advocate for this community. I don't know that Edmonton Global would exist without what you've done to really help us with funding and political will, and just so many things. The list is almost endless. So just on behalf of Edmonton Global and really the whole region, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your tireless work. You've got so much energy and drive to make things happen, and we just can't thank you enough for what you're doing for this city, this province, and the country.
It's my pleasure. And the payback is get busy, get to work, bring more companies here, and let's show the world what we can do. So thank you to you and the whole team at Edmonton Global.
Okay, so the busiest guy in Alberta is saying his payback is make him busier. Okay, love it. Thanks so much, Randy.
Take care.
Okay.